Emergency address. The country, perhaps the entire planet, is under siege by the reanimated bodies of the recently dead.
We are talking about the British zombie film Dawning of the Dead, also known as simply Apocalypse. The man behind this, Tony Jopia, who has done a number of kind of low-budget B-movie horror flicks before. I recently reviewed Cute Little Buggers, which was one of his. And this one comes to us on the 5th of December on VOD. So what is the story here? It essentially tells of a virus which has been discovered by this kind of like scientist, and it's obviously kind of a zombie virus, and the actual military application to this, the military think it's all fantastic, they can kind of, you know, have soldiers kind of fighting after death, etc. But the formula is stolen by terrorists and released simultaneously in various different kind of cities around the world, and it focuses primarily on this kind of television news station with a kind of a variety of different characters are on there. Primarily there's this kind of woman who is this kind of investigator with journalism, who kind of knows the professor who ultimately kind of made this kind of virus. And it really kind of focuses on her, and then obviously the kind of the eruption of zombies around the city and people getting attacked. We have a few other kind of like B plots as well, with kind of a few kind of sub characters. Obviously the government here are here kind of trying to cover it up, etc. So that's your movie. So let's talk about the positives and negatives with Dawning of the Dead. Obviously a homage to various other kind of zombie films. You'll notice there are similarities, shall we say, for a few other kind of notable zombie films. Let's talk about the negatives first of all. The thing for me, I feel the first act of this film was weak sauce. Before we get to the actual kind of the zombies itself, it has this very kind of convoluted plot involving a variety of different characters you simply don't care about. It's poorly explained. You don't care about the characters. I didn't feel like there is that. We have this kind of B plot with the boyfriend who's trying to get back to his girlfriend. Unnecessary. I feel they've just had him in the movie because he's a producer. Didn't need to be in it. Took focus away from the kind of the A storyline. And, you know, we have this kind of this plot about these kind of government types trying to kind of cover up this evidence, this zombie outbreak. But it's happening all around us, so what's the point of trying to cover it up? Because there's zombies literally everywhere, so there's no point in covering up. So I did not understand why they were even bothering, to be honest. Then you've got to look out the window to see that there's a zombie apocalypse going on. It just seemed like an odd storyline just to kind of have more characters in there. There are too many characters in this movie. It does kind of flip between our kind of A storyline, which is this kind of this journalist and her kind of immediate colleagues that are trying to kind of cope with this kind of zombie apocalypse. But we have this kind of the boyfriend and the brother who are both French but speak English to each other. I didn't understand why that was the case. Then we have you know, this kind of couple of policemen and these government agents, and a few other kind of like little characters here and there. I didn't think, obviously they kind of wanted a body count, but nonetheless I thought there was a little bit too many kind of pockets of characters that kind of took away from the kind of the main kind of storyline here. There's a high reliance here on CGI blood. So if CGI blood pisses you off, then this movie will piss you off, because there is a lot of it here. They do use some practical effects, as I'll come on to, but there is a lot of kind of splattering, kind of like, you know, digital squibs and stuff like that that are very noticeable. Some of the acting was a little bit ropey from some of the characters, but it's kind of a B-movie zombie film, so I don't really feel like I could really hold that too much against it. But let's talk about some positives for me. Once we get to the zombie stuff, I feel it's actually quite a fun zombie film. It's very fast-paced, and there's a lot of zombie attacks, and because there is so many characters on the flip side, we do get a lot of kills, and we do use, even though it's a very low-budget film, they do a good job of kind of using what they have to make some kind of fairly gruesome gore shots. Obviously we get people's intestines being pulled out, and that is all practical, unlike the kind of the blood squibs that they are using. So So there is quite a lot of kind of like heads being pulled off and kind of prosthetics, as well as the kind of the digital effects. So I feel the digital effects weren't needed. I actually think you could have just kind of, you know, had guns ricochet and things like that, and who cares if there's like a blood squib. They would have been better off without it. Anyway, I thought there are a couple of strong performances, most notably the professor itself I thought was quite strong. Our leading lady, I think, is quite a strong actress, and her boss, which is this kind of the guy who runs the station, I'm assuming. Again, I thought his character was also pretty strong. So there are some pretty decent acting there as well. Zombie makeup effects were all pretty good. There's quite a lot of action sequences in this movie, and I kind of quite like the fact that they have clearly filmed this in a real town, because we kind of see people running past like HMV and stuff like that, and I thought, how have they got permission to do this? Because it's not a very big budget film, so they must have done that without permission, surely. So I thought that was quite fun, and it kind of makes it almost have a somewhat of a kind of a feel that you kind of recognise, because you're recognising all these sort of shops and stuff that you kind of see in the background and stuff like that. So it doesn't feel, it feels like it's kind of close to home, especially if you're in the UK, because you're going to notice all these things that you think, oh, that's in my town, that's in my town. I kind of liked it. So that was quite fun. And I've got to say, the ambition of this film is quite big. We do see various different kind of shots around the world of you know, the kind of the equivalent kind of zombie attacks in kind of Paris, America, places like that, Greece. So we do get a little bit of flavour of that. But there are some plot points here that I simply didn't understand. Just going back to negatives quickly, like, you know, the whole point of this this cover-up, didn't understand why they are, this TV journalist, is, you know, she wants to put out this kind of this video about the kind of the zombie virus. Why? Everyone can clearly see that there's a zombie virus, and what the information you've got there doesn't tell them anything other than that, really. So that really just seemed like a moot point to me. And one of the kind of minor niggle here, they have one zombie extra that they used that is so distinctive, and he's in every kind of zombie attack. And we're meant to believe this is kind of obviously a widespread thing, but he's literally in every shot, and thinking they need to kind of change it up a little bit. I don't know if this guy's literally muscling his way to the front. There's a hint, but he's so distinctive, and you can kind of see him in literally every zombie attack. And there's even a kind of an exchange of words before he becomes a zombie. It just made it, I don't know, made it a little silly in a way. But this one doesn't take itself too seriously, so, you know, in a way, who cares, I guess. So in a rule of thumb, I feel this movie's main critique is it didn't explain its world building enough. Didn't do a good job of that, and had a lot of unnecessary things in it. But it did have some good fun elements. If you like just a kind of an action zombie flick with some kind of low budget and, you know, pretty gory effects, then I feel you'll kind of enjoy it. And like I said, the actual, when we get to the zombie stuff, it's quite fun. There's a lot of them. There's lots of kind of headshots and kind of like, you know, various extras getting munched on. So it makes it a kind of a fun zombie film, just not a very intelligent one. So overall, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.